Hello, dear students. Today we are going to see a very interesting chapter, that is ecosystem. In this chapter, we are going to see what is the definition and concept of ecosystem, structure and function of an ecosystem, and introduction to various types of ecosystem. So, what is ecosystem? Ecosystem is defined as the system resulting from the interaction of all living and non-living factors of the environment. It was first proposed by A.J. Tansley in 1935. Now, what is the difference between ecosystem and environment? Ecosystem, it is more related to a particular locality, and environment, it is more related to a particular global level, or you can say environment more, it is a broader concept as compared to ecosystem. So, ecosystem consists of biological community that occurs in some locale and physical and chemical factors that make up its non-living or abiotic component. There are many examples of ecosystem, that is pond, forest, estuary, grassland, desert, etc. What is this concept of ecosystem? So at a very minute level or ground level, you can see in this figure, that is there is an organism. When number of similar organisms are inhabited in a particular area, that is known as the population. When different population, they are inhabited in a particular area, that is known as the community. Number of community plus the abiotic components, they form the ecosystem, and number of ecosystem together, they form the biosphere. The same has been explained here. At global level, it is known as the biosphere. Sub-global level, you can say it as a bio. What are bio? These are geographically distinctive areas where plants and animals have adapted themselves to live in such areas. At even more local level, it is termed as ecosystem. And what is community? When different populations live in the same habitat and interact with each other, that is known as community. And what is population? Population is a group of same living things living in the same habitat. Now, what is the structure of ecosystem? It is divided into two components, that is abiotic and biotic component. Abiotic component, again it is divided into two parts, that is climatic component, which include rain, light, wind, temperature, and edaphic component, which is also known as soil components, that is the soil, pH, minerals, topography, etc. Now, biotic component of an ecosystem include producers, then consumers and decomposers. Producers are also known as autotrophs, consumers are known as heterotrophs that feed on the autotrophs, and third is the decomposers or saprotrophs that feed on the dead decaying matter. Now, consumers, they are again divided into four types, that is primary, secondary, tertiary, and quaternary. Primary consumers are also known as herbivores. Secondary consumers are known as primary carnivores. Tertiary consumers are known as large carnivores. And quaternary consumers are known as omnivores. We'll see one by one. Abiotic factors, they consist of all the non-living things, that is non-living physical and chemical components which are present in an environment. Abiotic factors act as a limiting factor that keep a population at a certain level, which means what? Any alteration done in the abiotic factors, that can badly affect the population living or the living factors which are present in that particular ecosystem. Biotic factors, now what all the living components come under the biotic factors, that is the plants, animals, and microorganisms. Now, major biological components of ecosystem. Very first is the producers, which are also known as autotrophs or self feeders. Now, as the name suggests, they make their own food and are the source of all food in an ecosystem. On land, producers are green plants. In case of water and marine system, the producers are algae and the plants which are present in the shorelines. In open water, that in case of river, the producers are phytoplanktons. And how these producers produce their food? They produce their food by photosynthesis. Second is consumers, which are also known as heterotrophs, which are also known as other feeders. That is, they do not produce their own food, but they feed on other organisms for their survival. So we'll see one by one. Primary consumers, which are also known as herbivores, they feed on the producers. Then second is secondary consumers, that these are the one who eat the primary consumers. Example is snake that eat the rabbit. Tertiary consumers, these are the large carnivores which feed on the secondary consumers, owl that eat the snakes. Quaternary consumers, you can say these are the last part of the food chain which feed on the tertiary consumers and they are not eaten up by any animals. Example is hog that eat the owl. And omnivores, these are the one which have mixed diet, which include both plants and animals. That is, they act as both herbivores and carnivores. So example is monkey. Last is decomposer. Now these are, what does decomposer include? They include bacteria and fungi which feed on the dead organic matter. Now what they do this by breaking down or feeding on the dead organic matter and release such compounds into the soil. These inorganic compounds are again taken up by the producers and then they produce the food, and thus the cycle is complete. So this was regarding the structure of ecosystem. Now we'll see the function of ecosystem. Ecosystem, they perform three major functions: energy flow, nutrient cycling, and ecological succession. We'll see the first function, that is energy flow, food chain, food web, and ecological pyramid. Food chain. Now what are this food chain? This is the chain in which the biotic and abiotic components are linked together. Energy flow in an ecosystem occurs to various trophic levels. Now, what are these trophic levels? This is a division of food chain which is characterized by a specific method of obtaining food. For example, producers, they obtain food by photosynthesis. They are named as the first trophic level. Herbivores T2, secondary consumers T3, tertiary consumers T4, quaternary consumers T5, and decomposers will be from the T6. So this is the example of food chain. You can see the producer is grass, which is taken up by the or consumed by the primary consumer, that is this grasshopper, which is eaten up by the secondary consumer frog. Frog is taken up by the tertiary consumer, that is the snake, and then snake is taken up by the hawk. Hawk, after that it is decomposed by this decomposer. So here is the example of food chain. Similarly, I have explained the same thing in a different manner. Now there are two types of food chain: grazing food chain and detritus food chain. Grazing food chain, it is also known as predator food chain, which starts from the green plants. You can see the example of grazing food chain, that is food chain on land. Grasses is the primary or producer, then it is taken up by the grasshopper, then frog, snake, and hawk or eagle. Another example of grazing food chain is aquatic food chain, in which phytoplankton is the producer, which is taken up by the zooplankton, which is consumed by the small crustaceans like crabs and lobsters. Then small fish are consumed by large fish, and in the end it is consumed by crocodile or shark. In case of detritus food chain, detritus food chain start from the dead organic matter. Okay. In contrast to grazing food chain, which starts from the green plants, detritus food chain, it starts from the dead organic matter to detrivore organisms which feed on that, which in turn make food for protozoan to carnivores. So here is the example of grazing food chain, and here is the example of detritus food chain. Now we'll move towards the second part, that is the food web. Now what is food web? It is a network of food chain which has formed due to interlinking with each other at several points in a biotic community. Now what are the characteristics of food web? It is never straight. It is formed due to interlinking of food chain. And third important characteristic is it acts as a alternate source of food. So what is the importance of food web? It provides alternate source of food in an ecosystem. An organism will not rely on single source of food only. So here in the sentence you can see, the more complex the food web, better stability to the ecosystem. That is the reason why the animals are polyphagous. If the availability of one particular animal is decreasing in an ecosystem, they start eating the alternate animal. As a result, it gives chance to reproduce and grow in number, and in addition it gives chance to predator to survive. So food web, it provides more than one alternative to most of the organism in an ecosystem, and thus increases their chances of survival. So this is an example of food web in the grassland ecosystem. You can see hawk, it has many alternate sources of food. It can consume lizard, grasshopper, it can feed on mouse also, and on snake also. Then third is ecological pyramid. Ecological pyramid, it is also known as Eltonian pyramid, as it is derived by the scientist Eltonian. It is a graphic representation of ecological parameter, that is producers, herbivores, carnivores, may be shown graphically by means of ecological pyramid, with producers at the base and top carnivores at the tip. So in this pyramid, always you have producers at the base and carnivores at the top. There are three types of ecological pyramid: pyramid of number, biomass, and energy. The pyramid may be upright or inverted depending on the nature of the food chain. But in case of pyramid of energy, that is the third type, it is always upright. Now why it is so, we'll see in the next few slides. We'll move towards the first one, that is pyramid of numbers. It is graphic representation of number of individuals present per unit area at various trophic level, from producers to top carnivores. For example, in case of grassland ecosystem, large number of grass plants, they support smaller number of grasshoppers, smaller number of grasshoppers which in turn will support smaller number of snake and lizards, which in turn will support very few peacocks and falcons. So you can say this is an upright pyramid. Similarly, in case of pond ecosystem, you can say large number of phytoplanktons, they support smaller number of zooplankton, which support more smaller number of smaller fish, which in turn support very small number of large fish. Okay, so in this case also you can say the pyramid of number is upright. But in case of forest ecosystem, the pyramid of number is spindle shape. Now why it is spindle shape? Because smaller number of trees, they are fed by number of herbivores which are present in the forest, like birds, deers, elephants and plants. So this section you can say large number. Again, this large number of herbivores, they will support the smaller number of carnivores, which in turn will support very few number of top animals. So in case of forest ecosystem, again you can say it is spindle shaped. So this was regarding the pyramid of number. Now we'll move towards the next part, that is pyramid of biomass. Now what is this pyramid of biomass? It represents total standing biomass at each tropic level. Now, what is this standing crop biomass? It is the amount of living matter at any given time. It is expressed as gram per unit area. In most of the terrestrial ecosystem, pyramid of biomass is upright. But in case of aquatic ecosystem, the pyramid of biomass is inverted. Why? Because phytoplankton, they have a rapid turnover rate, and because of which their total biomass at any given time is less than the biomass of herbivores supported by them. So in case of terrestrial ecosystem, you can see pyramid of biomass is upright. But in case of aquatic ecosystem, pyramid of biomass is inverted because phytoplanktons, they have rapid turnover rate. So this unit is always less as compared to the other. Then we'll move towards the third type of ecological pyramid, that is pyramid of energy. This pyramid represents total amount of energy at each tropic level. Now it is always upright in shape. Why? Because the producers are the main producer of energy. So when you will try to calculate energy in producer, consumer and the other carnivores, you will see the producers have large amount of energy stored in them, which is consumed by the consumers. So it is always upright in shape as there is gradual decrease in energy at successive tropic levels from producers to consumers. Now we'll move towards the next part, that is the third function of ecosystem, that is biogeochemical cycles. Now it is also known as nutrient cycles. Whatever nutrients which we are getting from the environment, this is because of this biogeochemical cycles. And if if there is some alteration in this biogeochemical cycles, it can cause instability in an ecosystem. Now four types of nutrient cycle we are going to see: water cycle, carbon cycle, oxygen cycle and nitrogen cycle. Water cycle, it is also known as hydrological cycle. Now the first step in water cycle is what? Evaporation. That is during the during the summer vacation, when the sunlight is very high, due to high temperature the water evaporates and get converted into vapor form. Also the water which is present in the plant, it also gets evaporated, because of which this process is known as evapotranspiration. Whatever vapors are formed, they condense and form the cloud, which is known as the condensation. Now after condensation, the cloud moves up and up above the earth, and at a time, and you know that as the as we go higher and higher altitude, the temperature decreases. So one point comes when the cloud no more it longer can hold the moisture, so it releases the moisture, which is known as the precipitation. that is rainfall or snowfall. Now, whatever precipitation takes place, it is divided into two parts. Part of the precipitation is infiltrated into the soil, and part of the precipitation it get runoff and get added into the river. Again, it is taken up by the atmosphere with the help of evaporation, and thus the cycle continues. So water cycle, also known as hydrological cycle. Now what is the main effect? It regulates the temperature, it changes the weather and creates rain, and it also create many geographical features present on earth like ice cap, icebergs, rivers, valleys. It is always energized by solar energy. Now what are the following steps we have already discussed? We'll see one by one. Evaporation and transpiration. The sun heats up the liquid water and changes it into gas by process of evaporation. The process of evaporation of plants is called transpiration. What is condensation? Water vapor pass into atmosphere and condense into the minute particles. These particles again function as nuclei and form minute liquid droplets, and they form a warm moist air which are known as clouds, which rises upwards. Precipitation. The moist warm air mass, that is the cloud, may ascend to cold region of the atmosphere. When the moist air cools, a point or level comes when the atmosphere can't hold the moisture. Thus, the condensed vapors coalesces and undergo precipitation in the form like rains, snow, hail, fog, or mist. Then infiltration. Some of the water that precipitates does not run off, it is absorbed by the plants and get evaporated, or it moves deep into the soil, which is known as infiltration. Runoff. Part of the water it is infiltrated into the soil, and part of the water pours down where it runs over the surface of the earth and combines to form channels and then rivers, and then it end up into lakes, seas, and oceans. Thus, water gets collected and thus become ready for evaporation again. So this is the water cycle. Now we have moved towards the next part, that is the carbon cycle, which is responsible for the maintenance of carbon in the atmosphere. Now carbon cycle, it involves four steps: photosynthesis, respiration, combustion, and decomposition. So whatever carbon which is present in the atmosphere, it is taken up by the plants for the photosynthesis. Okay, this plant, they are again fed up by the animals. Okay, so animals again they take up the carbon, they take up this oxygen and release carbon dioxide in the air. So you can refer this cycle, that is this photosynthesis and respiration. Now after plant, when they get died, okay, they are fed up by the dead organic matter by the decomposers. Again decomposers release carbon dioxide in the air. Then second is this dead organic compound plants, they again form fossil fuel, and when this fossil fuel is burnt, that is when combustion of fossil fuels takes place, again carbon is released into the atmosphere. So this is the carbon cycle. So source of all carbon is carbon dioxide present in the atmosphere. Now what is the carbon cycle consist of? First is photosynthesis. Green plants in presence of sunlight utilize CO2 and then convert it into inorganic carbon, that is food, and release oxygen. Part of food it is used by the plant for their own metabolism, and rest is stored as biomass, which is then available to various herbivores as food. So thus forest act as a reservoir of carbon dioxide. Second is respiration, which is carried out by all the living organism. The energy released from respiration is used for carrying out life processes by the living organism. As I have already told, living organism, they take up the they take up the oxygen and release the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. Then is decomposition. All the food assimilated by the animals or synthesized by plant is not metabolized by them. A major of part of them is returned by them as their own biomass, which become available to decomposers on their death. So what does decomposer do? They decompose on the dead organic matter and release CO2 into the atmosphere. And last is combustion, that is burning of biomass releases carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. Now what is the major concern? It has this carbon cycle, it has been disturbed by the human activities. Carbon dioxide level has been increasing, continuously increased in the atmosphere. This is leading to increased concentration of carbon dioxide, which is the major cause of global warming. Now we'll move towards the third cycle, that is nitrogen cycle. Nitrogen is a very important compound, okay, because it is the part of various biomolecules like proteins and enzymes. So cycling of nitrogen is very important for all living organisms. Now there are 5 main processes involved in nitrogen cycle. That is nitrogen fixation, nitrification, assimilation, ammonification, and denitrification. We'll see one by one. Nitrogen, which is present in the atmosphere, it is taken up by the leguminous plant. Now what is this nitrogen fixation? It is the process in which the atmospheric nitrogen is converted into ammonia with the help of this nitrogenous bacteria. Okay, so that is the first. Second is nitrification, that is conversion of ammonia into the nitrites. Okay, so which is again done by the nitrogenous bacteria which is present in the soil. Then third is assimilation. Now whatever nitrates is formed, okay, it is again assimilated by the plants and animals to form nitrogen containing organic compounds. Okay, so whatever nitrogen fixation is done here, okay, that nitrogen compounds are again used by the plants, as well as the plants which are as well as the plants which are taken up by the animals. So nitrogenous compounds, they come in these animals also, and they form important biomolecules like proteins, DNA, RNA. Okay, so that is known as assimilation. Ammonification, that is the process of forming the ammonia from the dead decaying matter. Then denitrification, okay, these nitrates, they're again converted to nitrates, and part of nitrate is again denitrified by the denitrific bacteria and again converted into nitrogen. Now why they are converted into nitrates? Because plants, they cannot take this nitrate, but they can take the nitrate form. So this nitrifying bacteria, they convert them into nitrate. Part of nitrate is taken up by the or assimilated by the plants and animals, and part of nitrate is again converted into nitrogen with the help of this denitrifying bacteria. Nitrogen fixation involves conversion of gaseous nitrogen to ammonia. Now three types of nitrogen fixation is there. Atmospheric fixation, which takes place with the help of lightning and combustion. Industrial fixation, in which molecular nitrogen is broken down by applying high pressure and temperature into atomic nitrogen, which then combines with hydrogen to form ammonia. And third is biological fixation, that is symbiotic bacteria, that is ribosome fixes nitrogen with the help of this bacteria in the leguminous plant. Nitrification is the process in which ammonia is converted into nitrates or nitrites by the Nitrosomonas or Nitrococcus bacteria. Assimilation, as I have told, nitrogen fixed by the plants is converted into important biomolecules like proteins, DNA, RNA, etc. These molecules make up the plant and animal tissue. Ammonification, in this living organisms, they produce nitrogenous waste like urea and uric acid, which is again then converted into ammonia by the bacteria. This process is known as ammonification. Denitrification, conversion of nitrate back into gaseous nitrogen, is called denitrification. Denitrifying bacteria, they live deep into the soil, and denitrification is a reverse of nitrogen fixation. So that was the nitrogen cycle. Now last is the oxygen cycle, in which cycling of oxygen takes place. Two major processes are involved: respiration and photosynthesis. So very first is respiration, that is the living organisms take up this glucose and atmospheric oxygen during respiration and release CO2 and water in the environment. This CO2 is taken up by again by the plants for the process of photosynthesis and released oxygen into the environment, and thus this cycle continues. So what is expected in oxygen cycle is to write two processes, that is respiration and photosynthesis. So thank you for listening. This was regarding the structure and function of ecosystem.